A retired war veteran passed away peacefully. General Arthur Peterson, a man known for his patriotism, his integrity, and his unwavering character. Everyone believed his life, filled with heroism and accomplishments, had simply reached its natural conclusion. But sometimes the greatest mysteries of a life, its deepest secrets, surface with its very last breath. General Peterson's passing was precisely one of those moments. Hidden beneath his pillow, carefully tucked away, was a tiny secret, a cherished heirloom, a medallion. This medallion, it had strange, worn symbols on it, and at first glance, it seemed like an ordinary keepsake. Yet, this medallion was the key to a decades-old mystery, unearthed with a hero's final breath. The call that morning was expected to be a routine notification of the passing, but the detail about the strange medallion found under his pillow instantly propelled me into action. Usually, such minor details might be dismissed in official reports. However, my experience had taught me that the seemingly minor and insignificant often conceal the greatest secrets. I knew this wasn't just a farewell, it was an urgent summons from the past. The symbols on the medallion's surface, they didn't resemble any standard military insignia. It was old, worn, the metal bearing the marks of time and perhaps conflict. Yet the artistry of the carvings was extraordinary, meticulously done. It was as if it contained some kind of code, a message. To understand what part of General Peterson's life this medallion belonged to, I needed to delve into his memories, into his deepest recollections. I managed to get hold of General Peterson's war diaries. These were worn, leather-bound notebooks he had kept hidden for years. Every page felt like a whisper from the depths of history, from a hazy past. Within the thick paper, there wasn't just the sheer horror of war, the hardships of military life, but also encrypted notes about mysterious events. One incident in particular from the winter of 1944 caught my attention. It was the account of his unit being stranded behind enemy lines in an abandoned town whose existence no one seemed to know of. The diaries didn't mention the town's name directly. It was simply referred to as Shadow Town, as if it were a place haunted by specters. And when describing a particular house in that town, Peterson's handwriting even changed. It became more hurried, more tremulous, as if there he had encountered a secret far greater than the war itself, something that had haunted his mind for years. Peterson's notes from those days vividly reflected the terror and astonishment of that moment. Reading his words, I felt as if I was transported back to that cold, snowy battlefield. Quote, "The town was in ruins under the bombs. Everything was dilapidated, silent. It was as if even the ghosts had fled the place. We thought no one was there. We'd walked for months, just trying to survive. But that house? It was the oldest, most imposing stone house in the town. It had rotting wooden doors, broken windows covered in ice. We heard a strange sound coming from inside. It was like a whisper. It wasn't a human voice. It was more like the sound of a machine. There was something in there. Something incredible. Something we'd never seen before." These lines transported me directly to those days, to the stark reality of that moment. What was that sound? What did he mean by something we'd never seen before? The diary didn't immediately answer these questions. On the contrary, it left even more unanswered. With the clues from the diaries and old war-era maps, I discovered that Shadow Town was a small village in a remote corner of the Alps, wiped off maps years ago, as if it had never existed. The village had been a strategic target during the war, suffering heavy bombardments, but the reason for its complete abandonment was something else entirely. This village's story wasn't just a typical tale of wartime destruction. And that house Peterson mentioned, it was the oldest, most imposing structure in the village, also an ancient monastery dating back centuries. The symbols on the medallion matched the monastery's old seals exactly. This was no coincidence. The medallion had to have a connection to the monastery. Peterson, in his diaries, detailed what they found in the cellars of the monastery. His accounts of their astonishment and the magnitude of their discovery absolutely captivated me. Quote, "We descended into the monastery cellars. It was like a dungeon, cold and damp. Time seemed to have frozen there. Everything was covered in an air from centuries past. And we found that box. It was cleverly hidden in the corner among the stones, as if they never wanted it to be found. Inside, there was a manuscript. It was ancient, its pages yellowed, its ink faded. The drawings and notes on it, they were unlike anything I had ever seen. And it was so valuable. It took us years to understand. This wasn't just a book. This was knowledge. Knowledge that could end the war, that could build a new world. This wasn't just a historical artifact. This was an invaluable manuscript containing information about a technology or military strategy that could have altered the course of World War II, or even reshaped the post-war world order. The medallion was a vow and an insignia to protect this knowledge. Peterson and his comrades had sworn to keep this information from falling into the wrong hands for their entire lives. This mysterious knowledge had become a burden on their shoulders. Even after the war ended, this burden never lightened. On the contrary, it grew heavier in peacetime. When I met with General Peterson's family, I learned about a habit he kept secret for years, collecting old maps and war-era artifacts, almost obsessively, meticulously. Among his belongings, we found a second medallion, almost identical to the one found under his pillow, but smaller and made of a different metal. Was it a duplicate or a companion piece to the first? And hidden inside this medallion was a memento Peterson had acquired during the war, something he never spoke about, a small, rusty key. Its very appearance suggested a hidden mystery. I read Peterson's reflections on the final pages of his diary, how he renewed his vows. It was as if he had specifically written it to be found after his death. Quote, "When we found it, no one believed us. No one understood. The world wasn't ready for such knowledge. Perhaps it still isn't. But we knew. It was something that could change the future, rewrite the destiny of mankind. And we had to protect it, no matter the cost. We swore an oath. A blood oath it was. I was the last one to carry this burden. And now it's time to pass it on. What did this key open? Why had General Peterson kept this medallion hidden until his last breath? And most importantly, what was this thing he said they had to protect? The answers to all of these questions were hidden where this medallion and key united. The key opened a small steel safe carefully concealed behind a bookshelf in General Peterson's old study. From inside emerged a leather-bound journal, a few faded photographs, and a strange map. This journal detailed precisely what General Peterson and two of his comrades had found in the monastery's cellars in that shadow town. This journal was the final piece of the puzzle. General Peterson and his comrades had dedicated their lives to protecting that secret. They had sacrificed their youth, their futures, their peace of mind. Their loyalty to each other was greater than even the war itself. The medallions were symbols of their silent vows, of their lifelong dedication and sacrifice. This information could have played a critical role in reshaping the world order at the end of the war. Perhaps that's why it was kept secret, prevented from falling into the wrong hands. Perhaps Peterson wanted to ensure this knowledge was only released when the right person found it. This case taught me more than just solving a mystery. It allowed me to understand the depths of the human spirit and the untold burden carried by a generation. General Peterson's last memories whispered not only the secret of a medallion, but also what war teaches people, the moral dilemmas it creates, and the kind of sacrifices it demands. My duty is to honor these memories and ensure this secret remains safe. Because some secrets should stay in the past, buried deep in the depths of memory, securely. But their stories must live on for us to learn from. Humanity must learn from its past so it doesn't repeat the same mistakes.